Hi guys, I don't really know how long this video is going to be, or how coherent it's going to be. So, basically, it's going to be a bit of a controversial one. So if you don't want controversy, I would not watch this one. But basically, this is going to be a video on why I support the monarchy in the United Kingdom. Now, despite my accent, I am not English. I am from another part of the United Kingdom. So just putting that out there, because someone might get the wrong end of the stick. But yeah, so basically, in no particular order, these are my reasons for the monarchy. Now, first of all, I just want to make a brief point about the fact that I myself and people who I've spoken to at uni, I'm at uni at the moment. I'm in my first year, and I've spoken to people who are, who've come here from other countries, and they've maybe said, when they came here, the first thing they thought about was the monarchy. That was what came into their head when they, when somebody said the United Kingdom, or when they were flying here, the first thing they thought about was, King Charles or Queen Elizabeth II, maybe, or Buckingham Palace. It was that first, and maybe it was the red telephone boxes or the post boxes, but again, it was mainly the monarchy, because even I myself, from Britain, I can't think of another reason why somebody, I can't think of another aspect of this country that bears in the mind, if that makes sense. We've got a wide amount of cultures in the UK now, which is brilliant, and we've got a wider amount of accents, which we have done for a long time. The Liverpudlian accent, the Birmingham accent. But again, nobody who I was speaking to at university knew about that. They all thought that everybody in the United Kingdom sounded like the monarchy, or like a, maybe like me, or a posher version of me, maybe. So yeah, I mean, it's really the only thing I can think of, and the only thing they could think of, that, screamed Britain. And so if that's all we've got on our global stage, to get rid of it is a really bad idea, in my opinion, because it's basically like a company pulling its marketing. When it's the only marketing we've got, why would we pull it? And as well as that, there's the history. One of the main things our monarch does, or I don't know if it's one of the main things, but it is one of the most important things, is they visit with and are visited by other heads of state, other public officials from our country and other countries. And I think the reason that works so well is because if you were to picture yourself as being from another country, would you rather visit with a glorified member of parliament, a glorified politician who, they've been voted in, but so have 126 other people, or whatever, what have you, so has everyone with a seat in the House of Parliament, so you would want to, or the House of Commons, sorry, but you would want to meet with them, or would you want to meet with a king or a queen? You know, I think it really carries that sort of prestige about it. You know, you're visiting with someone who is traceably related to so many famous people in history that so many people know about, and so many people have spoken about for thousands of years, and people will be speaking about for another 1,000, you know. So I really don't think that getting rid of that, you know, with regards to that, is a very good idea. And as well as that, you know, when you're visiting the monarchy as head of state, you are hosted in a palace. You know, you don't have to go in and find some hotel somewhere. You are hosted in a palace, and you have the state dinner in the palace, and you know, you are at somebody's home. You're at the monarch's home, and that's a personal thing, and it gives you a sort of tie back to that country, because if the next time you visited it was somebody else, like you would have with an elected head of state, where you visit and then, you know, 5 years later you might visit again and it's somebody else, there's that sort of awkwardness there. Whereas with the monarch, you know, famously Obama and Obama's wife Michelle Obama and their 2 kids, they got on famously with the Queen. You know, she managed to win an argument with the Secret Service, or, well, I doubt it was that direct, but you know, she managed to drive Obama around in her own car. Well, you know, Prince Philip was driving, but they drove Obama and Michelle Obama in their car. And yeah, I mean that's how personal it can get. And you know, again with the palaces, if we lose this monarch, what's the point of standing outside of Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle and you think, you know, that there isn't a monarch in there anymore? It's not a palace, it's just a glorified government building. And it's got the history, you know, it's got the history, but so have Roman ruins. And nothing against Roman ruins, you know, they're great, and I love them personally, but I don't see nearly as many people outside Roman ruins as you do outside the palace. And although you get people who go to Versailles, despite the fact, you know, that the French don't have a monarchy anymore, and you get people who go to Versailles, but I feel like that's more people who went to France to see the Eiffel Tower, or people who went to France because it's known as the Romance City. And then, you know, you book a holiday in France, you go for 2 weeks, the Eiffel Tower is one of those days, you go and do everything else. But we haven't got that. We're not the Romance City. You know, we're not the city of anything, really. We're not the country of anything. We are, you know, we're the kingdom. We are the United Kingdom, and we have a king or a queen. We have princes and princesses, and that is our special. And if you think that there is anything else special about the United Kingdom, I challenge you to tell me. And it's not special in the way of, oh well, you know, we're all unique in our own unique ways. We get that, right? Everybody is. And it's good to be proud of your culture. But there really is nothing on the world stage that stands out. If we get rid of the monarchy, what else is there for this country? What else is interesting about this country? People are going to go to Hull and Birmingham. You know, people aren't going to Hull and Birmingham on holiday. Well, Americans and Chinese people and Japanese people aren't going to Hull and Birmingham on holiday. French people aren't coming here and going, oh, I'd like to go to Hull. It's not going to happen, because that's not where the monarch lives. You know, and we've got the London Eye, and because we've got a monarchy. And they want to see that, and they want to feel what it's like to be in a country, to be in a kingdom with a king, or a kingdom with a queen. And, it boggles the mind, it really does, that people are going, oh, well, it's not fair. Well, nothing's fair, right? I mean, that's a bit of a stupid saying, nothing's fair, right? But, I do believe we should strive to make everything as fair as possible, but not when that's going to damage the only fabric that we stand on in this country. That's it for us, really, isn't it? Because there's nothing else interesting about our country. I'm going round and round, but yeah, so anyway, so basically, as well as that, another point that I was thinking about, and I was thinking about this when I was speaking to some of my friends. Now, some of my friends are in a profession, shall we say, that some of my friends are in a profession where they are required to swear allegiance to the monarch. And I didn't think about this at first, because I thought it sounded very sort of Game of Thronesy. But I think it makes sense what they're trying to say, which is the fact that if the monarch is sort of, not the monarch anymore, then that's sort of forcing all of these people, depending where you are, you might be in you might be in the army, or some sort of armed forces, or some sort of defence forces, or what have you, where you have sworn your word to the monarch, and you're forcing them to break that word. And I think to a lot of people, breaking their word doesn't matter, but I think to certain types of people, and I think they're the type of people who choose to serve in these jobs, or the type of people who, for whatever circumstances, are serving in these jobs. They like to know their word has meaning, and they don't want to break their word. And we make that decision for them by dismissing our monarchy, by abolishing our monarchy. We make the decision for them that their word is now broken, that we've taken their word and we've broken it. And it wouldn't just be that as well. We would be breaking another deal, which is the fact that, so basically the funding that the monarchy gets, which, that's one argument that people have against the monarchy, is they get so much funding. But here's the thing, there is an argument to be made that they bring more in with tourism, and that could be hard to measure, but because obviously people say, well, people could be coming in for tourism for any other reason. Let me tell you, they are not. We've been through this. There's nothing else. There isn't anything else. I'm sorry, there isn't. Okay? Anyway, so, people will say that they get a lot of money. They get the sovereign grant. And, the sovereign grant is a sort of dolment, a payment that the monarchy gets from the government, but it's not as simple as that. So basically, back in history, I think it was King George III. He gave Parliament management of the Crown Estate. So he gave the Crown Estate management to the government, so they could use it as farmland or as buildings for HM services, and then they could profit off of that, keep most of the profit, and then use that money to help the people of the United Kingdom, and then they would take some of that profit a sovereign grant. Now here's the thing. That was the deal that was made. You take this estate, you take this land, and these businesses, and this, this crop yield, or what have you. You take this, and you use the money to better the country and to pay your wages and blah blah blah. And then you pay us an installment. Now if that deal is broken, who's to say the monarch can't just say, okay, well, you're not going to do that deal anymore. The deal's off, so we'll have our crown land back again. Because here's the thing, is that what we do with the monarchy, we set our precedents. We set our precedent in the most advertised cases, and if we can just say, okay, well, it doesn't really matter the deals that you make with the monarchy, we're going to break those, then why should I pay my taxes? Why should anybody pay their taxes? Why should anybody uphold a deal for anything? I pay my taxes in this system that I've agreed to, that I was born into, yes, but I have done a lot of research into, and I agree with this system. Now here's the thing. Legally, they are our monarch, okay? And if you were to get rid of them, then we would suddenly be paying our taxes just to the government. It would no longer be His Majesty's Treasury, His Majesty's Customs, His Majesty's Government. It would be the government of the United Country, because, well, it wouldn't be kingdoms anymore, would it? There would be no king. So it would be the United Country of Britain, because, again, on the world stage, it's not going to be very great, is it? What are we going to be known for? So why would I pay my taxes? Why would anybody want to pay their tax? Or I'm not going to pay my taxes to some new body. I pay my taxes to the crown, to the king, right? And I'm not talking about the hat. I'm not talking about the hat when I say the crown. It's sort of like where the Pope is represented by the Holy See, and the Holy See being, I believe, the chair he sits on, being the embodiment of the position. So the crown is the embodiment of the position, but it is only the position whilst it is filled. So like when Queen Elizabeth died, the country went into mourning, and King Charles became king immediately after, because if he didn't, then the government would be acting without a head of state, which at the moment cannot legally go on. They can't act without the king. They act at the leisure of the king. And, they act at the leisure of their king. I think we're getting Americanized, and that's the thing, if we don't hold on to everything that makes us British, we're just going to become so Americanized, I was speaking to another one of my friends. Well, I was speaking to one of them that is the same friend that is serving in the job where he had to swear to the king, or at the time it was the Queen, and I was speaking to him, and he was telling me about the fact that he speaks just like I have. He speaks more American because he was brought up on Disney Plus and Nickelodeon, and he spells things in the American way because he plays video games with Americans. So if we don't hold on to these British things, we're just going to become Little America, and the crown is what we've got. And another thing, so people say that the monarch can't show their views, and that's true, because if the monarch ever shows their views, then obviously one political party will seem to have the upper hand to another, and that might sway the people one way or the other, depending. But this is the thing. So a monarch decisions, you might get a France scenario. You know, the scenario what happened in France, obviously, is people saw the decadence of the king and queen and the inaction of the king and queen. And so, you know, because people were starving in France, and then they'd look up and they'd see the decadence of the king and queen, you know, they acted out, and, you know, a guillotine was built and a king was killed. And so, you know, but with a prime minister, if they make a decision that is not liked, well, they just get voted out and they go on holiday. You know, no matter what political party, prime ministers will do stuff that isn't liked, and they'll let their friends benefit. They'll make a profit, or their friends will make a profit, or someone will make a profit, and then they'll resign, or they'll be ousted out, you know, politically ousted out, and then they'll just go on holiday, because they don't have to pick up the blame. There's no picking up the blame when you could just leave. You know, it's like working as a chef, burning all of the food on purpose, and then walking out of the restaurant. You know, you were employed there, so technically you were able to do that legally, and then you've walked out. Okay, so you're not going to pick up any of the blame. The people who are going to pick up the blame is the servers or the owner of the restaurant or whoever's left there. So a prime minister can walk in, figuratively burn everyone's food, and then walk out, and they're still going to get paid, and then they can just find a new job or go on holiday. You know, and then the people who benefited, you know, with the prime minister, the people who benefited, usually their friends or whatever. You know, we had a lot of that before. You know, we had some of that during COVID, where two of our politicians, they set up a PPE company where they sold substandard PPE to the NHS at a larger price. But the problem is, the NHS already had a company they bought good PPE from. So basically our Prime Minister at the time, and I won't name any names, but our Prime Minister at the time said, okay, well, don't use that other company, NHS, use this company because it's going to be faster. But it wasn't faster, it was more delayed. I think it took them 8 weeks, when this other company that the NHS already used was saying, we've got the stock now and it's ready and it's good. But instead we used the Prime Minister's friend's company, and it was substandard and late, and I don't know how many people, I mean, it would be hard to tell how many people suffered or died because of it, but certainly some. And, you know, if we had a monarchy, an absolute monarchy, if that wasn't found as treason and the people killed or the people executed, then that, you know, that would be an uprising for sure, you know. So, you know, I think that having an elected, you know, it's good how we have it. We have a constitutional monarchy, when the monarchy can't get away with murder and the politicians can't get away with murder. I mean, they do already. Politicians get away with basically murder all the time. And to be honest with you, you know, sometimes it feels like they're getting away with actual murder indirectly. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, so the way we have it, constitutional monarchy, is in my opinion better than anything else on the table. I don't think there is a better management system. You know, looking from the outside in, it looks like the grass is always greener on the other side. But that's only looking from the outside in. From everyone's angle, their country needs improvement. But the improvement that the United Kingdom needs is not getting rid of the monarchy. There are so many other things, because we already have a parliamentary system. I don't know if that's the right word, but going to use it anyway, and I'm going to assume that you know what I mean. We already have a parliamentary system, which is apt for corruption and corrupt units to use for their own gain. And before we get rid of the only boundary that sits in the way of passing new laws, that's not the House of Lords, obviously, although, again, people do want to get rid of the House of Lords. But before we get rid of the last boundary, maybe we should look into the fact that our government is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. Now I'm going to finish, and I do apologise that I was probably whispering extremely angrily into the microphone, and I promise I'm not angry, I'm just passionate about this, because when I hear somebody talking about solving the monarchy, or abolishing the monarchy, it does grind my gears in a way, but not because it angers me. It just boggles my mind that some people want to get rid of basically the only interesting thing. Now I'm going to finish up, because I'm shocked that a car horn hasn't gone past or whatever. So thank you very much for listening, and no matter what you believe, on the monarchy front, I really do hope you have a good day, and I want you to remember, I don't know everything, and I probably got something wrong, and I will probably, I will probably find that somebody out there has some better takes on some of the things that I have said.